Buckle your seatbelts, boys and girls. This will be a real treat. And by treat, I mean total shit show. While there are many passions and interests I have, such as filmmaking, video making, or wasting time doing nothing on Discord while waiting for people to join the voice chat, one of the things that has always sort of risen to the forefront of my vision is animation. While I've sort of dropped off doing traditional animation in recent times to opt for the easier shortcut way that pretty much every YouTuber in my genre has, it is still something that I love and admire to the utmost. It's time-consuming, very hard to do, and takes an immeasurable amount of talent to do well. Talent which I could never really attain. But when it is done well, it is truly amazing. Unlike live action, you can tell any story with animation. The limits of the real world do not exist. You can create stories about giant robots who meet a young boy and develop an inseparable bond. You can make stories about caped crusaders who defend their city from criminals. Or you can tell the story of obnoxious, screaming tic-tacs who are bland, uncreative, and make small children scream at the slightest mention of these bizarre, disgusting mongrels. Which is where one of the companies that I have hated for years comes into the picture of animation, Illumination Entertainment. Founded in 2007 by Chris Meledandri, this company hasn't created very many films compared to other studios like Pixar and DreamWorks, with a short filmography of just 8 movies. 8 terrible pieces of media, which vary in how terrible they are, from just a little bit shit to makes you want to eat broken glass. Shit. The movies they have produced include Despicable Me, Hop, The Lorax, Despicable Me 2, which was actually Minions 1, Minions, which was actually Minions 2, Toy Story, I Mean the Secret Life of Pets, Sing, and Despicable Me 3, which was actually the 3rd Minions movie, because literally the only thing they used in the marketing and the thing that takes precedence over everything else in the movie is the Minions. And you may think, oh, well, Minions aren't that bad, I mean, it's just for kids. Well, I agreed with you at first, until they became the main focus of the entire company. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. We're not at that part of the video yet, because today I'm going to talk about why Illumination Entertainment is the worst company making animated movies today. Worse than literally everybody who makes movies today. And yes, even worse than Video Brinquedo, the company that makes those awful rip-off Disney movies, because at least with those, there's something to laugh at. You can sit back and enjoy how cheap and lazily made they are. But with these movies, there's just nothing funny about them. There's nothing redeeming about them. They are all at least moderately bad, with terrible writing, cheap and stilted animation, poor voice acting, poor music. Everything is bad. Everything is awful. One of the most important elements of any animated film is the character design, the way that the characters look and function. Some of the greatest characters ever created have worked because their designs are original, memorable, and therefore iconic. Characters like Batman, Bart Simpson, Popeye, and Jack Skellington, for example. All of these characters can be recognized by most people instantly. Even if they don't know their name or have never seen the source media they are from before, they will likely be able to remember seeing them somewhere or point out some of their defining features. For Bart Simpson, it's his spiky hair, yellow skin, and skateboard. For Batman, it's his piercing white eyes and the ears that stick up from his cowl, along with his pointed cape. For Popeye, it's his stride, his massive forearms, and his glare, with one eye open and one eye closed. And for Jack, it's his long, lanky body, with a round head and zipper-like mouth. All of these characters have become icons in popular culture, memorable for all of their defining features, and as a result, they are also very marketable, due to the fact that they are instantly recognizable. If you go into any toy store, any of your kids will instantly recognize Batman or Popeye, even if they know nothing about them. Then we take a look at Illumination Animation, and they have no concern for character design or putting any effort into creating their characters to be iconic or memorable. While the most obvious one is Minions, which is probably the worst character design in history. Literally just a pill with arms and legs and yellow skin. Wonder where they got that yellow skin idea from. The simple design of their characters actually stretches across all of their movies, to every single character that they have ever made. The only unique character that I can think of is Gru, and he's not even that unique. His appearance just stands out from all of the other bland shit the studio has made. I mean, he's got a pointy nose and no neck, so at least that's something. But with everything else, it's like they didn't even try. One of the movies that shows this the most to me is The Secret Life of Pets, the Toy Story ripoff they made, but instead of toys, it's animals! Now, initially, I was kind of excited to see this movie, which I have seen twice now, once in theaters and once in anticipation for making this video. And at the best, the story story and everything is just fine, but the characters are just terrible. Just so bland and mediocre. There's nothing really iconic about any of these characters other than the breed of dog or cat they are, and even then, they don't really look special because of that either. I watched this movie yesterday as of the time I'm writing the script, and I honest to God cannot remember the name of a single character. Not because the film didn't do enough to make me emotionally attached to them, even though that is a big factor, but also because I can't remember any of them. If you've seen this movie, I encourage you to try as well and think about if you can remember any of the names of the characters at all, because I cannot for the life of me remember anything about these characters other than that the bird was in a cage, and that's not even a part of his design. It's just a plot element. And when nobody can remember your characters after they watch your movie, you know you've done a bad job, especially when it's been like 14 hours since they last saw it. I can remember the names of so many characters from so many other animated pieces of media even years after I've seen or thought about them. Like with Batman the Animated Series, the show that got me into superheroes as a young kid. I can instantly name any of the villains in that because they are so weird and cool. Mr. Freeze, the Riddler, the Joker, obviously, Catwoman, Two-Face. All of them are so unique and memorable, it's great. So what is Illumination doing with their movies? I don't understand. The thing that can potentially make these characters household names is if you design them well and in an iconic way. But as of now, the only thing anyone can remember from your movies is the most obnoxious and effortless thing that you could come up with. A minion. Another great recent example of this is a movie which is currently in development by their studio. The new Grinch movie. Another Dr. Seuss parody, which they are probably going to pointlessly ruin. While there's nothing much to go by in the movie, one thing we can look at is the poster they released for this movie. This is what the Grinch is going to look like in their new movie. There's so much wrong with this. The thing that made the original Grinch character in the movie and in the book memorable was not only because of the way he acted, but also because of the way he was designed and animated. He was terrifying in the original one. This tall, lanky, creepy creature with horrifying facial expressions where his face would contort into these really menacing looks. This movie scared the living shit out of me as a kid, but then we looked to the new one. They stripped away anything that made him cool, unique, and scary, and made him bland, innocent looking, and made me want to strangle him. Now keep in mind this is just the kid version, but without even looking at the adult one, they still screwed up. They took away all of the detail and nuance and made him a bland cartoon villain, which while he's still recognizable, that's only because you've seen him before in other media. It's not just okay, or mediocre, or bad, it's insultingly lazy. The reason this company makes their characters simple is because it's easier to animate, easier to draw, just easier all around, which is understandable, but that's not an excuse in any way. Just because they save money to make shit doesn't make the shit good. At the end of the day, it's still a tall, stinking pile of excrement, which I hate. It's also cheap and lazily done. It's like they didn't even try. The only times this company can make a memorable character design is when they steal it from someone else who actually has talent and try to make it their own, but end up miserably failing. Now that we have discussed character design and the presentation of their characters, let's move into the characters themselves, meaning their personalities and the inner workings of their brain. The best characters in cinema aren't either good or bad. They are a mix of the two with conflicting personality traits within themselves, because that is how real people are. Nobody in real life is just good or just bad. We are all complex people. Usually we try to do the right thing, but oftentimes greed or lust get the better of us, and we end up doing things that are against our own morals. The reason why I don't like characters like Superman is because they are basically all-powerful gods, whose premise is that they can only do good and never be evil. Now, you nerds in the comments section will probably tell me something about how Superman was bad this one time, or in one comic book he did something bad, but I don't really care, because mainstream audiences don't really read those silly little pieces of paper now, do they? They watch Man of Steel and Justice League and BVS, and in all of those confusing and bad movies, Superman is a goody two-shoes who is basically invincible apart from a stupid little green rock. He isn't complex, he's poorly written. Moving on to Batman, he is and pretty much has always been an interesting character. He wants to avenge the death of his parents by fighting crime, but he also suffers greatly, not only because of the nightmares he endures as a result of this, but also because he is scared of the Batman, this alter ego he puts on to try to scare criminals and do good. Additionally, he doesn't kill, contrary to what Zack Snyder would have you think, which makes his job hard, because he has to always remember not to cross that line and break his principles unlikable, despite how terrible some of his enemies are. Batman isn't a stereotype, he's an interesting character who is unique enough to stand on his own, which is why he's been featured in more media than any other comic book character. So now that we know what makes a great character, let's talk about all the great characters that Illumination has created. Oh wait, we can't, because they don't exist. I'm going to just pick the single worst character that Illumination has to offer. Yes, the minion. And if I'm being honest, minions aren't really even characters. They're just things that scream and make noise, and they're all the same apart from a few variations in height, number of eyes, arm length, and just very basic simple character traits that are all part of their appearance. There is not one defining feature of any of the minions which makes them unique or interesting. None of them have motivation or anything they want in life. They don't have goals. They just live life from moment to moment. But unlike toddlers, I wouldn't hesitate to curb stomp a minion so that its disgusting deformed body explodes all over the pavement, and I can sleep peacefully knowing I did this world a favor. There's just nothing to a minion. They're all just annoying things that make noise. But this is, of course, the worst type of character that this company has to offer. The other characters I can at least call characters. They have brains that function. They have motivations. Like this little dog from The Secret Life of Pets. What's his name? Just one sec, let me... Okay, so Max. His name is Max. Max is at least a person, even though he's a dog. His main motivation is that he wants to spend more time with his owner, so he waits around all day and waits for her to come home. But that's not really anything special. It's just a stereotype of a dog. It's what all of them want. They want attention. They want their owner to come home. It's just a stereotype. The most basic and easiest trait you could pick for a dog to have. And that's really all there is to Max. There's nothing else about him. He's not a complex character. He's not layered like an exquisite ogre onion man. He just has one drive in life. This makes for bland and uninteresting characters that nobody cares about. And even the most important person on the planet doesn't care about it. Me! And pretty much all of the other characters in this movie are also bland, two-dimensional stereotypes that lack substance. Another movie that really shows how lazy and poorly done their characters are is Sing, the movie about a singing competition in a world where humans don't exist, and all of the characters are animals instead. The first issue with these characters is that they are animals. Usually when you create characters that are animals, it's for a reason, because animals that can talk is an inherently creative idea. You can give them personality and behavior traits based on the fact that they are animals, such as in Zootopia, which is a pretty good animated movie apart from that really awful singing scene at the end with this gazelle thing. All of the characters in this movie are animals, but the creative part is that their personalities are based on their physical attributes. What do any of the character traits in Sing have to do with being animals? Nothing! The only real somewhat creative idea is this elephant, which is shy, which contradicts how elephants are in real life as large, boisterous creatures, which is sort of creative and neat. It's something that I can appreciate, but other than that, none of these characters need to be animals. There's no point to it. And on top of the characters in Sing not needing to be animals, they are also just lazy, pandering stereotypes of stupid 2000s copy and paste characters that have been in too many retarded kids movies to count. Let's take a look at some of these riveting and interesting characters. First, we have Ash, the stereotypical punk rocker who is also a porcupine. She plays the guitar and is a rebel. That's all. This is as deep as her character goes, so if you've seen any of the other edgy goth rock punk characters that Pan Pizza would undoubtedly slip into the sheets with, then you have seen her. Next is Gunter, or Gunter, the German pig who sings and dances. Once again, he is a clear stereotype of the stupid fat goofball who is terrible at everything they do. He's loud, obnoxious, and basically the minion of this movie. They even used him in the advertising like this truly epic moment from the trailer.
They're going to be spicy, no?
Now that is epic! And finally, we have Nancy, who is a strong, independent woman mouse thing. Nothing else to her other than that. Oh, and she's also a gold digger who wants people's money. So I guess instead of being a strong, independent woman, she's a weak, sneaky leech. Just great. Another interesting and complex character who has probably been drawn as some disgusting fetish art somewhere on the internet. Speaking of that, I wonder if that does exist. Oh shit. You sick fucks. Why would you do this? I mean, who the fuck drew this? Now it's time to talk about the plot of the movies by this thing, this gross, abhorrent creature that squeezes out movies through its little hole. Not sure what kind of hole it is, probably best that we never find out. The plot of these movies is all very simple, just the most basic of stories with lackluster themes that have been seen in every animated and live-action movie since the beginning of time, such as be yourself, or use words and don't fight people with guns. The movie I'm going to use as an example of the kind of plots they have in these movies is their Easter classic, Hop. And by classic, I mean total financial failure. The only one that this company has ever had, because all of their other films have made an obscene, disgusting amount of money, which undoubtedly goes to the executives who spent no time on the movie instead of the artists, who hate their job and wish they would be hired by Pixar so they could work on something that isn't completely meaningless and vapid dribble. I remember seeing this movie in theaters as a young boy of 9 years old, but then my feelings towards this movie weren't really hatred or dismay. They were just me being kind of perplexed. How come this rabbit poops jelly beans? Why does the bunny have its own version of Santa's sleigh? Why do baby chickens work inside of the factory? I don't understand! The main plot of this movie is that this rabbit named E.B., voiced by Russell Brand, the guy who had a career for 2 years and was never seen again, is the Easter Bunny's son. Wait, I get it. His name's E.B. Easter Bunny. Very clever. Very clever. So E.B. is the Easter Bunny's son, and instead of being the Easter Bunny like his dad wants him to be when he retires, he wants to be a drummer and be a famous musician. So this kid has this conflict with his dad, so he runs away so he can be a drummer, goes to the Playboy Mansion, meets this guy who played Cyclops in X-Men, and they became friends. And then they go back to the island, and the human guy becomes the Easter Bunny even though he's a human, and the drummer kid helps him out one day of the year on Easter. And while this plot is stupid, contrived, and poorly fleshed out, the most insulting is the story of Carlos the chicken. Much like in Santa's workshop, the Easter Bunny has little slaves that he uses to build the gifts and make his candy, but instead of the elves, he uses baby chicks. Child labor is funny after all. So Carlos the chicken doesn't want to be a worker for the bunny and wants to do his own thing. So he starts an uprising where he touches this egg and becomes a deformed rabbit chicken and takes over the workshop so that he and his comrades can be the leaders of the workers. But after they went through all this effort to develop this plot point in the movie, they completely forgot about it, and at the end he goes back to being the lowly depressed servant that he was at the beginning, meaning that the message of this film is don't even try to change your life situation, instead stay in the shitty position you are now because nothing will ever get better. And you may be saying, but Turkey Tom, you're wrong because that's a side plot of the movie. And you'd be right, but the main plot of the movie has no message, so I'm going by the only one that exists in this movie. I'm grasping at straws here, and all of the other movies they've made are just like this with basically no message, or they have a message which has been done a million times before and they managed to somehow screw it up. The message of Despicable Me is that having kids is good and you don't always have to be the villain. The message of The Secret Life of Pets is that, I don't know. The message of Sing is that you should be yourself and not do what society tells you to, and that it's okay to scam people and make mistakes because in the end it will all be okay and all of your mistakes will be fine. The message of Minions is that instead of trying to be your own person and lead your own life, you should rely on other people to make decisions for you. The message of the Lorax should be that you should protect the environment and it should be about the importance of the conservation of nature, like the original novel by Dr. Seuss. But instead the message is that you should completely butcher the work of someone who has talent to make money and ruin his message by advertising your film alongside companies that do nothing but harm the environment and make terrible automobiles. The message of this video is that this company makes me want to jump off a bridge. So we're done with that, I guess. The audacity of this company to keep pumping out shit like the movie factory that they are is just appalling to me. It truly is. Never have I seen a more greedy and uncreative animation studio create movies like this and actually receive positive support. People actually like these movies. Minions, probably the worst movie that I have ever laid my tired eyes on, has a 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb. Maybe you think it's not that bad. You're right, it's not that bad. Which is the problem? These movies deserve nothing more than a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes and 0 stars on IMDb. From me, they will receive nothing but contempt until the end of time. And wouldn't you know, turns out they have some great movies in the works for all of us Minion lovers to enjoy. A new Grinch movie, which looks just like the Emoji Movie. I don't understand why they would make it like that. The Emoji Movie was like the most hated movie of 2017. The Secret Life of Toy Story 2. Minions 2, and then there's Sing 2, the movie about animals that talk, which has never been done before and is totally original and creative. Good job! You're awful, go away now. I'm done talking about these terrible movies. Let's talk about some things that are actually good. Contrary to popular belief, there is actually good content on YouTube. Amidst all of the vlogger douchebags and little kids playing Destiny, there are good creators on YouTube, however hard they may be to discover. You see, YouTube is like a massive pile of shit, and in the shit are cockroaches and other insects that live there, feeding off off the shit and off of each other, and amidst the sea of gross, disgusting, immoral, and stupid cockroaches, there are a few good roaches that make good videos that are wholly original, creative, and take lots of time to make. Here I have selected 3 separate creators that actually make good videos, who I would recommend you all go check out, because their channels don't receive nearly the attention they deserve. First is Pinely, the ugly guy who uses a box to hide his face. He makes videos about a variety of topics, creating what is essentially a cartoon done with editing software. Videos like his video about weird kids channels, or the one about the annoying orange. Then there's Sergeant Ducky, the, I want to say Scottish, guy who makes videos similar to Grade A Under A, but the difference is that his visuals are actually good, and he's not a massive cock. And finally, The Right Opinion, a genuine lad who makes very well-made videos about anything and everything revolving around politics or popular culture, as well as other topics like Bitcoin. All 3 of these people make great content, and you should all go subscribe to them, watch their videos, and comment saying, "You are a very sexy man, and I would be interested in having a cuddling session with you promptly. I will also bring pesto so that we may slather our bodies with it and squeal, 'Oh lordy lord, Alex Jones is my father.'" Don't actually comment that. I want to remain on friendly terms with these people. So that's the end of the video about Illumination Entertainment, where the funniest thing about it is the name, because it's not entertaining. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully the experience wasn't as dreadful for you as it was for me. Keep in mind that I had to actually watch these movies. Yes, I did at least try to research, even if I found myself browsing Twitter on my phone for most of the time. If you have any thoughts on Illumination Entertainment, then be sure to leave them in the comments section below. I always love hearing what you people have to say. You can follow me on Twitter, join my dead Discord server, leave a like or dislike. Until next time, Turkey Tom out.